Mommy used to sing to me. 1 blink for yes, 2 for no. Can you hear me, sweetheart? The voice was soft, trembling, as Grace knelt beside the hospital bed, her weathered hand smoothing the white sheets. 4-year-old Lily lay motionless, her emerald eyes the only part of her that moved, slow, deliberate blinks that seemed to carry the weight of oceans. Grace wasn't the child's mother. She was the grandmother who had never wanted this burden, whose resentment had carved lines deeper than age ever could. Yet, here she was, whispering words she didn't mean, performing a duty that felt like penance. Lily blinked once. Yes. Grace's throat tightened. She looked away, unable to bear the intelligence trapped behind those eyes. 3 months had passed since the accident that took her daughter Catherine, Lily's mother, and left this beautiful child imprisoned in her own body. The neurologist said it was trauma-induced locked-in syndrome, rare in children, potentially reversible. But Grace saw only her failures reflected in those blinking eyes, the arguments with Catherine, the years of cold silences, the grandmother who had chosen pride over presence. Outside the private room of Westbrook Medical Center, 33-year-old Jackson Reed sat in his office, staring at quarterly reports he couldn't focus on. His tech company had just been valued at $800 million, yet he felt bankrupt. He was Lily's father, Catherine's widower, and he was drowning. The board wanted him focused, his mother-in-law wanted him to make decisions about Lily's care, and he wanted to disappear into the work that once gave him purpose. That's when Nora walked into his life. 25 years old, with auburn hair pulled into a practical bun and eyes that held both gentleness and steel, Nora Sullivan arrived for the night shift with a worn backpack and a reference letter that made her overqualified for the position. Jackson had interviewed 7 nurses in 2 weeks. All had smiled professionally, promised competent care, and seen Lily as a case file. Nora was different. "I don't need you to hire me because you feel sorry for me," she said during their brief meeting, her voice steady but kind. "I need this job because I understand what it means when someone can't speak for themselves. My mother had ALS. Toward the end, her eyes were her only voice. I learned to listen." Jackson hired her on the spot. Nora's first night, she entered Lily's room as Grace was leaving. The older woman's expression was a mixture of relief and guilt. "She's been quiet tonight. The day nurse said she refused her exercises. 2 blinks for everything." Nora simply nodded, waiting until Grace's footsteps faded. Then she pulled a chair close to Lily's bed, sat down, and did something unexpected. She waited. 5 minutes of silence. 10. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Finally, Nora spoke. "I'm not going to tell you everything will be okay, Lily. I'm just going to sit here with you. Is that all right?" 1 blink. Slow, deliberate. Nora smiled softly. Over the following weeks, Nora developed a language with Lily that went beyond yes and no. She created a system using alphabet boards, picture cards, and patient observation. She noticed that Lily blinked rapidly when frustrated, slowly when sad, and held her eyes closed for 3 seconds when she was afraid. Most importantly, Nora noticed what everyone else had missed. Lily blinked in patterns when her grandmother was near, a frantic SOS that no one had recognized as terror. It was during the 4th week that Nora discovered the first truth. While helping Lily with gentle physical therapy, Nora sang an old lullaby her own mother had loved. Lily's eyes suddenly flooded with tears, and her blinks became frantic. Using the letterboard, letter by painstaking letter, Lily spelled Grandma, scary. Nora's blood ran cold, but she kept her voice calm. "Can you tell me why, sweetheart?" What emerged over the next hour, through patient questioning and Lily's exhausted blinking, was a story that broke her heart. Grace hadn't hurt Lily physically, but her words were weapons. Before the accident, she had told Catherine that Lily was difficult, too sensitive, a burden on Jackson's career. After Catherine's death, Grace's grief had curdled into blame. In moments alone with Lily, she whispered things no child should hear. Your mother died because she was stressed about you. If you'd been easier, maybe she'd still be here. Lily had been carrying this guilt, locked inside her silent body, believing she had killed her mother. Nora documented everything carefully, professionally, but her hand shook with rage and sorrow. She couldn't go to Jackson, not yet, not without proof beyond a child's blinks that lawyers would dismiss. Instead, she did something that could have cost her job. She installed a small audio monitor in the room, the kind used for infant care, and she waited. 2 nights later, she heard Grace's voice through the speaker, cold and cutting. Your father would be better off if you just let go, Lily. Stop fighting. It's selfish. Nora was out of her chair and down the hall in seconds, but she forced herself to stop outside the door, to record, to bear witness. When she finally entered, Grace was smoothing Lily's blankets, her face a mask of grandmotherly concern. I need to speak with you, Mrs. Harrison, now. In the hospital's family consultation room, Nora played the recording. Grace's face crumbled, not with shame, but with a grief so raw it was painful to witness. I didn't mean... Catherine was my whole world, and I failed her. I was a terrible mother, critical, cold, never satisfied. She married Jackson to escape me, and I resented her for it. Then Lily came, and Catherine was such a beautiful mother, everything I wasn't, and I was jealous of my own daughter's happiness. Grace's voice broke completely. When she died, I wanted to blame someone, and Lily was there, and she has Catherine's eyes, and God forgive me, I've been punishing a baby for my own failures. Nora's anger softened into something more complex, pity, understanding, and firm resolve. What you've done to Lily is abuse, Mrs. Harrison, emotional abuse of a traumatized child. I have to report this. I know. But Nora saw something else in that moment. She saw her own mother's face in the hospital bed, saw the regrets that had poured out in blinked confessions during those last weeks. She saw the possibility of redemption if Grace was willing to do the brutal work of change. There's another option, Nora said slowly. You enter therapy immediately. You don't see Lily until a professional clears you. You write her a letter, which I'll read to her, admitting what you did was wrong, that none of it was her fault, and you spend the rest of your life proving you can be the grandmother she deserves. Not for you, for her. Grace nodded, tears streaming. Nora told Jackson everything that night. His fury was volcanic, but beneath it was a deeper pain. He had been so consumed with his own grief and guilt that he had failed to protect his daughter. I should have seen it. I should have been there. You're seeing it now, Nora said gently. That's what matters. Lily needs her father present, not perfect. Something shifted in Jackson then. He began leaving work at 5 p.m. He sat with Lily every evening, learning Nora's system of communication, asking about her day, reading stories, and slowly, through Nora's patient translation, he learned who his daughter actually was. Funny, perceptive, afraid of thunderstorms, in love with stories about brave girls, and carrying a question she'd been trying to ask for months.
One evening, with Nora's help, Lily spelled it out. WASITMYFAULT. Jackson's composure shattered. He gathered his daughter's small, unmoving body into his arms, buried his face in her hair, and wept. No, baby girl, no. It was an accident, a terrible, random accident. Your mommy loved you more than anything in this world. She wouldn't want you to carry this. I won't let you carry this. That night marked a turning point. With Nora's encouragement, Jackson brought in a specialist who worked specifically with trauma in children. Combined with intensive therapy and the safety of her father's consistent presence, Lily began to heal. It wasn't dramatic or sudden. Healing never is. But 3 months later, Lily's fingers twitched. A month after that, she whispered her first word in half a year, "Daddy." Grace kept her promise. She attended therapy twice weekly, worked through decades of pain and regret, and slowly, with professional supervision, built a new relationship with Lily, one based not on duty, but on genuine love and hard-won understanding. She would never be perfect, but she was present, and she was trying. On Lily's 5th birthday, the hospital room was filled with balloons and the people who loved her. She could speak in short sentences now, move her arms, even sit up with support. Nora had brought a cake she'd baked herself, vanilla with strawberries, Lily's favorite. "Make a wish, sweetheart," Jackson said, his hand resting on his daughter's shoulder. Lily looked around the room, at her father, at her grandmother, whose eyes now held warmth instead of ice, at Nora, who had taught her that silence didn't mean she couldn't be heard. Then she looked directly at Nora and spoke in her small, clear voice. "I wish that Nora stays forever." Nora's eyes filled. She knelt beside the bed, taking Lily's small hand. "I'm not going anywhere, Lily, I promise." Jackson met Nora's gaze over his daughter's head, and something unspoken passed between them. Gratitude, respect, and the beginning of something deeper that would unfold in its own time, built on the foundation of kindness and shared purpose. As the evening grew soft and Lily drifted into peaceful sleep, Nora stood by the window, watching the city lights. Grace approached quietly. "Thank you," the older woman whispered, "for seeing what we all missed, for giving us all a second chance." Nora turned, and her smile was gentle. Kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's about showing up, paying attention, and believing that people, even the smallest, quietest among us, have something important to say. We just have to learn how to listen. Sometimes the most profound messages are delivered in silence. Sometimes the greatest act of kindness is simply being present enough to hear what cannot be spoken. And sometimes one person's willingness to truly see another can change everything. For a child who communicated through blinks, for a father who had forgotten how to hope, for a grandmother learning that it's never too late to choose love over regret, and for a young nurse who discovered that the family she'd lost had prepared her to help another family find its way home. In the end, Lily's eyes still spoke volumes, but now they sparkled with joy, curiosity, and the unmistakable knowledge that she was heard, valued, and deeply loved. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.